Welcome, brothers. JK Emezi here, head coach at Porn Reboot and founder of Elevated Recovery. Today, we're going to be talking about bisexuality. And let me give you guys a little bit of context. A couple of days ago, in one of our coaching groups, a brother was a little bit perplexed because of something that had happened at work. And he said that he was at, I believe it's a gender diversity training at his workplace. And in the course of this meeting, someone stood up and said that everyone is bisexual and that straight individuals are bisexual too, but have just dominated in society for so long that they have kept bisexual people down. But the truth of the matter is that everyone is actually bisexual. And this affected this brother because, as most of you who listen to this channel, who follow this channel, may know, some brothers deal with porn induced homosexual obsessive compulsive disorder. And I'm bringing this up because if you deal with that, which simply means, for those of you who are newer to this, that when you view pornography to the point that you can no longer be aroused by straight sex, if you're a straight individual, then you're going to lean towards material that is going to release the neurochemical cocktail that is going to get you aroused and get you to orgasm. And in some cases, it is the shock factor, it is the risque material that does that. And it often starts with gay porn or viewing pornography, which has transgender individuals. The problem is that you are actually not gay. So once you are past the stage of arousal and once you've orgasmed and your biochemistry has changed and normalized, feelings of shame and guilt might come up because this is not something that you would normally engage in. It is part of your addictive behavior, part of your compulsive behavior. And so that's where HOCD comes in, porn induced HOCD, because a man can often start obsessing about whether he is gay or not. Like, am I gay? I watched gay porn. There are all these things in society that said, well, if you watch two men having sex, then you're definitely gay. And this can be very, very perplexing to some men. And it's something that we handle here at Porn Reboot. We help men to rewire their brain, to understand what is happening in situations like this and get over this. So it was perplexing to this brother. And normally I wouldn't have made a public video about this, but something happened recently which made me decide to put this video out there. A couple of years ago, I shot a video on porn induced HOCD, and a lot of brothers, hundreds of brothers, commented on it. They found it very helpful. They were very, very relieved. Nobody mentioned anything about being bisexual. Fast forward a few years later, last year, I put out another video on HOCD. This one was, I believe it was titled, Is Porn Making You Gay? Anyway, this time, something different happened. This time, a lot of the comments were like, well, everyone's bisexual, so I don't know what the point of this video is, right? And there were a lot of those comments that were being made. And I started to realize that something is changing in society. And that is one of the things I want to address specifically for my brothers who are trying to end their out of control sexual behavior. I've been helping men to overcome this behavior for about a decade now. So, the first thing that I want to clear up is that if you choose to not finish watching this video and your knee jerk reaction is to assume that I am homophobic because I am bringing this up and I'm questioning this, then I don't know any light way to put it. You're a fucking idiot if you think that. That's the first thing. I know there are going to be some people who will get super triggered and super emotional because that happened with my last video. I just want to make it clear that this is probably not the channel for you. You might be in the wrong place. This is not social commentary for the general public. This is specifically for men who are struggling with this behavior. And I encourage you to learn more about porn addiction before you come into the comment section to share your opinion that, frankly speaking, nobody who watches this channel, nor I, cares about. So with that out of the way, let's talk about this whole bisexual thing. Now, let me share one more story as well. This might put it into perspective. On that last video, somebody who claimed to be a licensed therapist showed up and also said that everyone is bisexual. And then he said that in his professional experience, which he does not have training in treating porn addiction, that everyone is bisexual and that straight people had basically, he didn't use the word straight people, but basically were bisexual as well and had hidden this for years and were basically oppressing bisexual and gay people. And I debunked this with just one simple question. And this is for my brothers who are perplexed and going like, oh my God, maybe I am bisexual because it's been so hard for me to stop watching gay porn or to stop watching transgender pornography. I asked him to tell me one time in recorded human history when a civilization had existed that was predominantly, openly, proudly bisexual. If this was such a normal human condition, if it was so widespread, if bisexual individuals were actually in the majority as a sexual orientation, it was what all human beings leaned towards. Where is the civilization that was openly bisexual? He could not name one that was openly, proudly bisexual. Of course, there are a lot of civilizations where we know that being bisexual was not a big deal, and thus there are records of this, but it was never a major thing. Because think of this, and this is a theory. Nature has its priority, and nature will always prioritize survival of a specific species. Survival is ensured by procreation. A woman and a woman cannot procreate, and a man cannot procreate. Now, I know that what I just said is not PC. I know in this day and age, people are going to be like, no, but for like identity, that is not what we're talking about right now. I am making a point for brothers who are struggling with an out of control behavior with pornography. So nature prioritizes that. And if nature prioritizes that, civilization in its early stages always, always will. That is the first thing. It has not existed in history. The second thing that I want to mention is that this is also part of my theory on this is that historically speaking, society has marginalized, particularly Western Christian society, has marginalized homosexual individuals and transgender individuals. And in recent years, a wonderful thing has happened. They're no longer being marginalized. They have their voice, they're able to have the same rights that straight individuals have. And I believe that that's a wonderful thing. I also believe that while this is happening, we also have a pornography pandemic that is happening. It is a fact that men are getting addicted to watching gay sex, straight men. Men are getting addicted to viewing transgender pornography. And one more thing is happening because there's not enough education, because there's not enough in society, like what we have with Porn Reboot and a few other organizations countering this, we have a new generation of men and women who are growing up with pornography. It's become a normalized thing. It doesn't take long to find pornography on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. It's all over the place. And people are younger and younger people are exposing themselves to pornography and getting addicted to this. So it is slowly becoming normalized. Now, if part of the process for a certain segment of people is getting addicted to gay pornography and transgender pornography once they have viewed every genre, then it would make sense that there are more and more people who think that viewing gay pornography and viewing transgender pornography is normal. I'll give you an example. Growing up, at a certain point, I actually thought that anal sex was something that was just very normal and everybody just had anal sex. This was when I was sexually inexperienced and I was addicted to pornography. Come to find out that while it is something that happens, it is not the norm. But I literally thought that it was as normal as vaginal penetration. because of the impact of pornography on my life, right? The same thing happens when you view transgender pornography and you are not gay or you do not have a natural attraction to a transgender individual. This only happened within the confines of viewing pornography. The same happens when you start viewing gay sex. And if you're growing up and you're young and nobody has ever told you that pornography addiction is a real thing and you can have a compulsive behavior with this, well, with your friends, with people who are your peers, it's not surprising if all of you guys would just think it is normal. Now, when you couple that with a society that is not persecuting gay individuals or transgender individuals, and I know that we can all make an argument that certain aspects of society are still persecuting them, and there are many places all over the world where many people do not have their rights. I fully acknowledge that. But what I'm doing right now is I'm acknowledging how far we've actually come, and we probably have a long way to go. But when you couple that with a society like this, then you have people who just normalize that. So they're just like, yeah, it's totally cool. Like now I have friends who are openly gay in high school or in middle school. I have friends who are transgender. I have friends who are very open about these and having these conversations. So it is no longer a strange thing to view gay pornography when you identify as straight. So my belief is that there are certain people who have started normalizing it. But there is a problem with this. And the issue I have with this is think about it, gentlemen. If you believe that everyone is bisexual, why do you feel the need to make it a big deal? Why do you feel the need to come to a YouTube channel that's talking about porn induced homosexual obsessive compulsive disorder and make the claim that everybody is bisexual? What is it that you have to defend? Because I do not see gay men showing up to the channel and saying that everybody is gay. I just don't see that. I don't see them doing that because they understand that they're individuals who are gay. They understand they're individuals who are straight. And then they understand in many cases that there's this idea of a spectrum, which means there are people who are curious about these things. There are people who are attracted to certain type of men, while for the most part they are straight. They're individuals who can acknowledge that another man is attractive, like, yeah, that's a good looking dude. And there are men who are just incapable of doing that, right? There are men who are absolutely disgusted to have any sort of sexual interaction with another man, but they would have no problem doing it with a transgender individual, particularly if that transgender individual is hyperfeminine. So these things are understood by good part, no, well, not everybody. Let me not make that assumption. But the fact that individuals would have to stand up in a workplace or show up in a certain place and say that bisexual individuals are being, suppressed by the majority of society, which is straight, it's not only disrespectful to both gay and straight individuals, it's also disrespectful to individuals who are still trying to figure things out. And most importantly, it signals a deep insecurity. Suddenly you are oppressed because you're bisexual. I'm tempted to believe that you don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm tempted to believe that you struggle with some form of homosexual obsessive compulsive disorder, and that this is your way, to those of you who believe everyone is bisexual, of dealing with this. And if you are a gay individual who believes this, or you were a bisexual individual who believes this, then maybe you should ask yourself, why is it that I feel that way? Because apparently you are not straight. So if you do not have the experience of a straight individual, if you don't understand how a straight man has literally no sexual attraction to another man. In fact, if sex, the concept of it, is literally repulsive to him biologically, to the point that when something artificial like high speed online pornography rewires his brain to be only attracted to men online, he literally begins to have a mental breakdown. He starts to develop mental issues, compulsive mental issues, because this is not in tune with his biological drive. So, if you've never had that experience, isn't it, what's the word for it? It's selfish, it's egotistic. I think it's just a horrible thing to stand up and just make such a claim. So, my brothers who struggle with porn addiction, my brothers who have struggled with porn induced homosexual obsessive compulsive disorder, who may not have found relief, who are still trying to figure out, like, oh my God, what's happening? I just want to end this by saying that number one, do not allow anybody to pressure you, whether they are a therapist, a psychiatrist, it doesn't matter who they are. Do not allow them to pressure you into believing that you are bisexual until until you have learned how to control your out of control behavior with pornography. Allow your brain to heal and rewire first. And then you can go ahead and figure out what you believe you are or what your sexual orientation